guys! Today, we'll be recapping a story called Becoming the Lady of the Cursed Ducal House. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! The story begins in the present day with our main character, Hana, overworking herself to the point where she has another job after working at the restaurant. Those bags under her eyes show how hard she's working, but she can't take a break just yet with rent and loans to deal with. She chooses to sit down for a moment after throwing the trash outside, as she feels extremely lightheaded when a notification about the novel she's reading rings to her phone. This is her only joy in life, so she decides to read it when, all of a sudden, she gets a nosebleed, her head starts spinning, and she collapses. She wakes up after hearing someone asking her to help the children, and oh my, the first person she sees is a charming, shirtless, sturdy man who tells her not to get up just yet since she might still be tired from their first night. Hana recognizes the guy and realizes it's Killian Seyfried. The man looks just like Killian Seyfried from the novel Hana was reading, and as a reader, it takes her 1, 2, 3 to realize that she has been transmigrated into that very novel. Hana has a taste for reading BL novels, and in this story she's in, Cielina's younger brother Sion met her husband Killian at her birthday party. And guess what? The two fell in love and betrayed her. Denial is a river and your husband is gay. Cielina, feeling jealous, attempted to poison Sion, but unfortunately, she was killed by Killian instead. Hana is blown away that she has transmigrated into Cielina's body. Now that she reflects on it, she realizes that she's in the body of a Grand Duke's daughter with strong connections to the imperial family. And her husband is a duke, so financial worries are a thing of the past. She has found a way to move forward by supporting Killian and Sion's relationship, getting a divorce, and using her alimony to enjoy a comfortable life. Her birthday party is still a few months away, so the boys haven't met each other yet. In the meantime, she plans to gather information about the Seyfried family, and she invited Siobhan Robolini, a seamstress who is knowledgeable about high society matters. Siobhan brings up a rumor and asks Cielina if she's heard about the Duke allegedly murdering his older brother's children. The novel seems messed up. Once upon a time, the Seyfried family was well loved in high society, and everyone celebrated when the former Duke and Duchess shared the joyful news of expecting a baby. However, unexpectedly, the sad news of their passing emerged, making Killian the next Duke. Based on what the public knows, the late couple had twins, but no one can confirm it since Killian closed the Seyfried's gate to everyone, leading to speculation that he murdered his brother and his family. 5 years ago at an imperial ball, Killian first met Cielina. She seemed naive in expressing her wish to go stargazing in the north, unaware of the many soldiers who had lost their lives there due to monsters. After that day, Killian was approached by Duke Kiev, who mentioned that his daughter was in love with him. The Duke suggested that he marry his daughter Cielina, believing it would be a great opportunity for Killian, especially since the Seyfried elders are already feeling frustrated that he hasn't produced an heir yet. Duke Kiev is ready to offer the magic stone mine he owns in the west as a dowry. What's the reason behind that? He really loves his daughter that much, he says. And that's how the two tied the knot. I have trust issues with Manhwa dad, so I'm not sure I trust Selves' father yet. That evening, Cielina wakes up to a noise coming from her window, and when she turns to check it out, she sees a huge dragon-like creature with golden eyes watching her. The dragon looks surprised too and quickly takes off into the sky. The next morning, Cielina shares what she saw with Lily, but the maid finds it a bit silly. She even adds that if she ever saw a dragon that talked with a child's voice, she would love to see one herself. Even during her breakfast with Killian, Cielina can't stop thinking about it. It's so bothersome that she makes an excuse to pretend she's going outside to check on the horse her father gave her. She strolls into the garden where her room is visible, and suddenly she hears that familiar voice from when she first transmigrated. After following the voice into the woods, she spots the dragon again and decides to pursue it. However, as she draws near, the monster attacks and she loses consciousness. It has been a little while since the Duchess left, and this has made the head butler, Sir Kramer, share his concerns with Killian about her safety. Meanwhile, a servant brings some news that they discovered footsteps in the rose garden. Killian is starting to feel a bit concerned, so she asks Lily if anything unusual happened earlier with Cielina. When he finds out that his wife mentioned seeing a dragon, he quickly orders the assembly of black wolves to search for Cielina. The Black Wolves are the special team of the Shavar's knights, and Sir Winter, their captain, has brought together 3 of the most dependable knights: Gabrielle, Zeke, and Hakin. Killian shares the news that Cielina has been taken by some monsters, but it turns out that those monsters are actually his niece and nephew. He orders them to ensure that the public remains unaware of this incident before sending them out to search, while Sir Winter is already aware of his assignment, the Annex. 7 years ago, while Killian's sister-in-law was in labor, Killian and Sir Winter were enjoying a fun sword fight. During their playful duel, Killian excitedly shared that if he had a nephew, he would teach him how to use a sword, and if it was a niece, he planned to be her personal guard. Sir Kramer hurried over to them and, in a bit of panic, told them to head straight to the delivery room, where they encountered something really horrifying. They found dead knights and heard screaming babies, but these were dragons, not humans. Killian's sister-in-law has aged like an old woman, while his brother Kirshian is lying on the floor in a rather unusual position, almost as if he was possessed. This is tragic. The kids accidentally killed their parents. Cielina awakens in some kind of basement where she is loosely tied, and she overhears her kidnappers talking about bringing her here, but it appears that they are only concerned that she may freeze to death if they left her in the forest. She peeks and sees a small boy saying that people are terrified of them, so they must turn back in time, which prompts Cielina to open the door and discover the cutest twins with the prettiest golden eyes. Oh, look at their matching outfits! These 7-year-old twins became frantic, and the boy urges his sister to hit Cielina with a plank, but this pink-haired baby girl appears too innocent and pure to do it. Thankfully, Cielina is able to win over the little girl, Irene, when she expresses her want to be their friend and even agrees to play with her, while the little boy, Erhi, has no choice but to join them. Cielina tricks them by inviting them to play hide-and-seek with her, but she is really using this opportunity to get them to tell her how to get out of the basement. Meanwhile, Sir Winter arrives at the annex and notices the children's nanny on the floor. But there's no need to worry, she's just asleep from the sleeping herbs. He then notices something and sees that the monsters are getting smart and finding the secret passage. So he goes inside, and there he finds Cielina. Our girl casually brings up that there are children with her in the dungeon who played with her, but she seems a bit puzzled when Sir Winter says there are no children in the annex. If I didn't know any better, I might really think this is a horror novel. Sir Winter suddenly draws his sword when he sees the twins in their dragon form, but for Cielina, they're just children. She calls to them, and as soon as the two hug her, they transform into human children in Sir Winter's eyes. Despite being shocked, Sir Winter kneels down to introduce himself and addresses the twins as Lord and Lady. Cielina is surprised to hear what Sir Winter just said and immediately asks whether the children are Killian's niece and nephew, which he readily confirms, noting that they both share a striking resemblance to their parents. It breaks my heart to think about what happened to their parents because they look so happy and in love in this shot. He then tells her it looks like she did a miracle, which puzzles her since she didn't do anything. However, he claims that he witnessed the moment she tenderly embraced them. They changed from monsters into ordinary children. She has no idea what monsters look like, so she asks him to elaborate. And based on his description, she concludes it is a dragon and believes what she saw that night was either Irene or Erhi. When they get to the annex, Cielina is shocked to see a woman lying on the floor and learns that she's the nanny looking after the kids. Sir Winter tells her that only he, Sir Kramer, and Duke Killian are allowed in that area. This prompts him to explain that it is also for the sake of the young lord and lady, as others regard them as terrifying monsters. And even worse, the House Seyfried could face extinction. Sale begins to suspect that this is a family curse, but now that she's aware of the situation, she'll be unable to pretend nothing happened. So she assures the children that she will return before leaving. When Sale returns to the mansion, Lily cries and wraps her in a tight hug, leaving our girl in a state of shock as she thinks she has come back right away, only to realize that she's been missing for 4 days. Erhi has talked about turning back time. Is this related to that? Or did she pass out for days? Cielina asks about Killian and finds out that he headed to the snowfields with a search team 4 days ago. They reassure her that they've already sent a message confirming her return, but she can't quite believe that Killian went to the snowfields to look for her. Well, in her mind, Killian is gay, so... Seeing her reaction, the head maid Hana assures her that it's only appropriate for Killian to look for her because she is the respected Duchess of House Seyfried, which causes her to smile in agreement. After that, Cielina calls a meeting with the 3 people who had been closest to Killian and asks who else is aware of the children's existence besides them. She then discovers that the Seyfried family elders, including Count Adler Seyfried, Count Heinz Seyfried, and Marquess Raymond Seyfried, are in the loop. But only Countess Adler knows that the twins are still alive up to this point. She also finds out that the nanny in the annex is from the Gilrod family, and that really confuses her. But she chooses to act like she knows the Gilrods when she sees their reaction, figuring she can just ask Lily about it later. Hana expresses her curiosity about Cielina's ability to bring out the souls of the young lord and lady, which causes her to pause for a moment before turning to Sir Winter, who now turns his eyes away from her. She hesitates, revealing that she's feeling unsure and doubts she can really make a difference, especially since the children look just like regular humans to her. This prompts Sir Winter to react, declaring that he witnessed Lady Irene and Lord Airhe change from monsters into humans the moment she touched them, vowing on his honor that he speaks the truth. Hana then assures him that she knows he will not lie, leading Cielina to propose that they should all take a look for themselves. But Kramer clarifies that entering the annex requires the Duke's approval. The next day, Cielina decides to go alone with the cookies that Hana baked that morning, and Sir Winter offers to accompany her. The twins notice the basket she's holding, and she tells them that it's filled with cookies. She can't believe they don't know what cookies are, so she gives them some, and they greatly enjoy them. Sale then becomes curious when she notices their nanny is missing and learns that Rowena is praying, which confuses her because it's an unusual time for prayer. Praying to who, Nanny? The devil? That statue's eyes are super creepy! Cielina thinks it's a bit odd that their only nanny is spending time praying instead of taking care of them. Irene then asks her with concern if she can keep it a secret from Rowena, that they went outside. But if she finds out, she might start crying and feel scared of them, which is also strange. As soon as they get back to the mansion, Cielina eagerly asks Lily what she knows about the Gilrods, and she gets taken aback to discover that these folk are actually linked to the monsters. The Gilrods are divine officers who serve the goddess Havina. However, when the goddess's temple was destroyed, the Gilrods had to scatter to different areas. She also discovers that the north was once a lush land governed by the goddess Havina, but one day mysteriously froze and became overrun with monsters. Lily is unsure why, but she thinks the god might have randomly chosen the north for punishment. On the other hand, Cielina feels that humans must have done something to upset the gods to receive such a strong grudge. The fact that monsters are devouring northerners or are becoming monsters themselves makes Cielina think that this must be a curse of the goddess Havina. She is now in her room, pondering what the Seyfried family might have done to deserve such a curse, when out of the blue, she hears a voice praising her for not being stupid. The heavenly voice is happy to have picked her, and she gladly introduces herself as Havina. The goddess appears before Cielina and tells her that she has granted her the power to lift the curse of the Seyfried family. Wait, they look comparable. Is Sale a descendant of the goddess or something? Sale doesn't seem impressed, which annoys Havina, but since her power is weak, she transforms into a small glowing sea anemone. Our girl quickly says sorry to avoid upsetting the goddess, but she gets right to the point and asks Havina if she is the one who brought her to the novel world. Havina shares this sad news and lets her know that the real Cielina sadly passed away from a heart attack after drinking too much alcohol due to her nervousness on her first night with her husband. So, did Killian do... and Cielina was already... Never mind. I have a lot of questions, but I think I'll just hold on to them for now. Anyway, the goddess then mumbles that if she was a second late, she would have to wait for another 100 years, but Sale wasn't listening as she was simply concerned to find out if her real body, Hana, was dead, and was horrified to learn that she had already passed away. Dear, you've been grinding way too hard and got isekai'd. Sale wonders why Havina chose her, but since her power is a bit too unstable to hold her form, she chooses to share her remaining power with Sale for now. Havina then lets her know that she can ask the female Gilrod living with Seyfried if she has any questions. She holds Sale's hand gently to say that she isn't ready yet to lift the curse before disappearing. The next morning, Sale eagerly thinks about visiting Rowena, and today Hana is there to help her get ready. Sale also asks if she can get the doll Lily bought yesterday because she wants to give it to the children, noticing that the one they have in the annex is already worn out. Hana is curious about what the twins look like, so Sale happily describes Airhe as a little version of Killian, while Irene is a cutie pie with pink hair and dimples. Hana feels a bit teary as she pictures Irene resembling her mom, especially since the former Duchess had a dimple as well. Before things begin to become emotional, Sale quickly lightens the mood by suggesting they should all go together when Killian comes back. After that, Sale asks about Rowena, But it seems Hana doesn't know much since the Gilrods rarely talk to others, believing it might disrupt their ability to hear the goddess's voice. The late Duke Kirschian brought Rowena in and asked her to take care of his children until the curse was lifted. However, Sale points out that leaving the kids with someone they don't know much about can be risky. And Hana gets that since they all had their doubts about Rowena at first too. Killian visited them many times just to check on the kids' safety, which surprised Sale, as it showed that he actually cares. Hana mentioned that they are precious children of Killian's beloved brother, so it makes sense. Suddenly, the door swings open as a cheerful servant announces that the Duke has already arrived at the North Gate. Hana is busy instructing everyone in preparation for the arrival of the Duke, while Sale feels guilty for just sitting there, as she really doesn't know how to handle things. Kramer then approaches her and encourages her to just wait in her room. When she gets to the second floor, she suddenly hears a window shatter from her room. She quickly checks, and there they are, the kids, looking so happy to finally see her. Who could possibly get upset when they see something this cute? Sale is really surprised, but she quickly locks her door and hushes them. Meanwhile, Irene happily mentions that since it might be tiring for Sale to keep visiting them, they've decided to come to her instead. They then cutely mention that waiting is boring, while our sassy boy crosses his arms and says that he tried to stop Irene. Cielina then discovers that the kids flew, which means her room is likely buzzing with the energy of monsters right now, sure to grab everyone's attention. Sir Winter greets the Duke warmly and brings along healers, as one of the knights, Hakin, has been injured. While they were exploring the grounds of Havina's temple, they unexpectedly got ambushed, and a stone pillar accidentally fell on Hakin. I'm not quite sure, but there's something about Havina and the temple that seems a bit off to me. Killian then asks Winter about Cielina, and the old man assures him that the Duchess is doing fine. But when Killian finds out that the children approach Cielina, he becomes really worried and rushes to check on her. Winter keeps going to share with him that the Duchess possesses a unique power and that the children who were once monsters have turned back into regular kids. However, Killian just can't help but think such an idea is ridiculous, especially since no one has managed to break the curse for hundreds of years. Even his brother wasn't able to, so he's really sure that an ordinary lady like Cielina could never have cured such a curse by herself. Back to Sale. Kramer is stressed that she isn't opening the door because they can all sense the monster's energy within, so she has no choice but to use her authority to fire them if they continue to force their way into her room, which shockingly works. Killian then shows up, and when Irene hears his voice outside, she reacts as if she's extremely afraid of him. When Sale sees Irene's eyes turning red, it reminds her of the time Sir Winter mentioned that the annex is surrounded by bluish stones, which are purification stones that can absorb monsters' energy. Monster energy, similar to magical power, is released when the host gets angry, and Sir Winter mentioned that the kids' eyes turn red during these moments. He is doing his best to help Irene relax, but he's starting to feel anxious himself, and a dark aura is beginning to surround him just like it is with Irene. Killian is worsening the situation by banging on the door and screaming that Cielina is mistaken in believing that the kids are harmless. This triggers our poor baby Irene, and she transforms into that scary little dragon. But what's heartbreaking is that she is still attempting to communicate with Cielina, begging with her to run. Sir, what did you do to make them react like this? Cielina is feeling lost right now, but one thing is clear. The twins are in serious trouble if they keep acting out like this. Fortunately, Goddess Havina appears and encourages Sale to embrace the children, reassuring her that her powers are within her, so there's no need to feel afraid. However, Sale freezes in her spot because, oh my goodness, Irene in her dragon form is shrieking and showing her fangs, which really makes Sale tremble. But when Havina tells her that Killian might kill them, she dashes over and hugs Irene. The glowing light reaches outside, so Killian rushes inside and is startled to discover Cielina with the twins in her arms. Irene is unconscious, and little Erhi looks terrified at Killian, prompting Sale to hastily convince him that the children are not dangerous. If a hug would cure them, I'd gladly hug these babies. To Cielina's surprise, Killian simply falls to his knees, caressing Irene's hair as he recalls his brother entrusting his beloved children to him. Killian's emotions overwhelm him, and he begins to cry as he thanks Cielina for saving the children. Right, it's hard to blame Killian for being extra cautious when the kids are seen as raving monsters. The twins wake up in Sale's room the next morning, but Irene is distraught and believes she hurt her. Our girl smiles and assures the little one that she is not injured before hugging the twins and swearing to see them often. She also assures them that she'll find ways for them to see her and guarantees Killian will not try to hurt them. They soon hear a knock, And as the kids are still uneasy of others, Sale decides to walk outside and is delighted to see Anna bringing her food. However, she observes that the food on the tray isn't enough for 3 people. And before Anna can explain, Sir Winter arrives with a large bag. He offers it to Cielina, who is confused by what it is because it's so heavy, prompting him to explain that they are grade A magic stones for the children to eat, which surprises her very much. Well, at least it's not live animals or raw meat, right? Kramer is now reporting to Killian, and the elderly man is overjoyed since he heard endless laughter emanating from the Duchess's room for the first time while walking across the hallway. Kramer believes that if Cielina can truly lift the curse, they no longer need to be concerned about something happening to Killian, as happened to Kirschian before. Kramer desperately wants to avoid losing another head at House Seyfried, but it appears that, aside from the curse, there are more reasons for Killian to lose his position as Duke, given that all of the elders are now aware that the twins are alive, and they may begin debating now that the right successors have appeared. Sale finally meets Rowena today, and she is amazed because it is her first time seeing someone with both silver hair and eyes. What surprises her even more is when Sir Winter informs her that Rowena's appearance hadn't changed in the 7 years she has worked for House Seyfried. But wait, there's more to be shocked about. Rowena tells Sale that she has been waiting for her before kneeling and kissing the top of her shoe. Sale is unsure how to react to this, but she decides to follow Rowena when she says the goddess is waiting for her. They make their way to Rowena's room, but Rowena chooses to wait outside, allowing Sale to have a private conversation with the goddess. To Sale's surprise, the room appears quite ordinary and not particularly holy. She then notices the statue of the goddess and realizes that its green eye color is the same as hers, which makes her wonder if this is just a coincidence. The statue unexpectedly speaks, startling Sale so much that she drops it, and that's when Havina appears right in front of her. She's absolutely beautiful, a true goddess! They begin talking, and Sale feels confused because if Havina only needed a body to help her, she could have simply asked someone else. But it appears that she requires someone with no magical powers, so that it does not interfere with her heavenly powers. House Kiev has not wielded magic in years, but they are a wealthy and powerful family due to their ability to mine monastones. Sale has doubts. She believes that this isn't the sole reason Havina chose her, prompting the goddess to disclose that she needs someone who loves the Duke and will never leave House Seyfried. Understood, but Sale still believes Havina is not telling her something important, prompting the goddess to become silent before grabbing her hand and assuring her that all she needs to do is accept her in order to wield her power and save the twins. Working with a goddess sounds like an honor, but Sale despises it since she's aware that Havina was the one who placed the curse on the children and now wants someone else to make things right for her. Havina admits it and feels guilty, but she explains that she broke the seal that would allow her to go out freely, and she assures Sale that she sincerely wants to make amends for what she did. So, to fix the issue, Havina can simply undo the curse, right? It seems that once a curse is set in motion, it can't be reversed. Monsters will always be around, and the monster energy will continue to run in the blood of the Seyfried family members. After hearing this, Cielina turns away and tells Havina to find someone else since she has no intention of ever helping a goddess who isn't honest with her. She then furiously tells Havina that she should have thought this through before cursing an entire household, and with a firm look, she tells her to clean up the mess she's caused herself. Honestly, I totally understand her situation. She was brought into this new world without her consent just to bear the weight of someone else's error. Havina urges her to stop refusing her because if she continues, she will die, since she's only alive because of her divine powers. Just before Sale can leave the room, she collapses on the floor. So, in short, she's being blackmailed right now, huh? Help me or you'll die. In the end, Havina bestows her divine power on Sale, who awakens that evening in her room with Sir Winter and Lily by her side. She wants to get up immediately, but Lily, who is already in tears, begs her to rest till she fully heals. So our girl has no choice but to stay in bed. But what she really needs is mental rest. Her initial goal was to get divorced and live happily, but now she can't do so because she discovers that she had a reason for coming to this novel world, thanks to that selfish goddess. After a few days, Sale feels better and is ready to see the kids. But before she leaves, she sees Killian, who asks for her time so he can introduce her to someone. As they step into his office, Gabrielle Tomer, a lady knight with short red hair, formally introduces herself to Cielina. Killian then lets her know that Gabrielle will be her bodyguard from now on, as he understands she will keep visiting the annex. Sale feels uneasy about this because it suggests that Killian lacks trust in the children's ability to act normally. Meanwhile, Killian carefully explains that even though she has a special power that calms the kids, there's still a lot they don't understand about it. So he asks her to consider getting a bodyguard, just until things are more certain. She understands that Killian wants her to be watched, but now she senses that he also worries about her safety. In the end, she decides to accept his offer and warmly welcomes Gabrielle. They are presently on their way to the annex, where Sale learns that Gabrielle will guard her in the morning, and Hakan will stay with her at night. Following that exchange, the two become silent, making our very anxious girl feel awkward until Gabrielle asks whether she can truly undo the curse on the children. Sale is on bad terms with the goddess, so she believes she cannot accomplish it, prompting this knight to smirk and coldly state that she is relieved to hear it. Sale quickly points out Gabrielle's rudeness and senses that she might not want the curse to be lifted, prompting her to declare that she will ensure Killian hears about this. Gabrielle quickly says sorry and opens up that she really doesn't want to put the Duke's position at risk, which makes Sale realize that the presence of the children who are the rightful heirs and breaking their curse will lead to Killian's downfall. Sale notices that this lady is a devoted knight to her master, so she decides to let it go and simply heads inside the annex. I still won't trust this redhead around the kids. The twin happily greet her, and Erhi excitedly displays his wings by leaping from the second floor and landing on the ground floor. As Sale reflects on it, she notices that she hasn't had the chance to explore the entire annex properly. Her gaze wanders, and she realizes that Killian has really put in the effort to prepare the kids with a variety of toys. The former Duke also made an effort to bring Rowena, implying that he was aware that his children would be born as monsters. But she now recognizes that the twins' parents never gave up on their children. Her thoughts are interrupted when Erhi asks her to read a book, and she confidently takes it. However, she becomes really quiet because, truthfully, she can't read a single word in the book. When she first transmigrated and realized that she didn't have the automatic buff that every transmigrator has, being able to read the novel's language. So she tried to learn it herself, since asking for help would be a bit odd for a duke's daughter who doesn't know how to read. In the end, though, she decided to give up. Erhi and Irene gaze at the illustrations in the book, letting their imaginations run wild with the story, which helps Sale come to the realization that they don't know how to read either. She asks if they want to learn how to read, which makes the two little ones light up in excitement. But for now, she manages to convince them to play with dolls. As Sale observes the innocent children, she begins to think that it would be wonderful for them to learn etiquette, allowing them to be introduced to noble society and enjoy a life like other children. She could definitely help them if she had Havina's divine power, but she pushes that thought aside because she doesn't want to depend on the goddess who cursed the children. Instead, she's determined to do her best to help the twins on her own. I really hope that love and care will be enough to help the kids, dear. As the two kids drift off to sleep after their fun playtime, Rowena approaches Sale and kneels down, asking for her help. She shares that ever since the goddess spoke to her last time, she hasn't been able to wake up. Sale recalls Havina mentioning that they are running out of time, which leads her to wonder if the goddess's lifespan is shortening because she bestowed her divine powers upon her, or if it's a result of her rejection. Sale asks if she can take the goddess figure, and Rowena happily agrees, knowing that she's the chosen one the goddess has picked. That evening, Sale decides to pay Killian a visit in his office and ask for his permission to hire someone to help the children read. She proudly claims that she discovered so many books in the annex that if the twins learn to read, they will be able to use the books to gain knowledge. However, Killian remains quiet, leading her to think that he does not want them to pose a danger to his position, prompting her to openly ask him if he is also afraid that the curse on the twins would be lifted. The way she adds "also" upsets Killian, since it implies that someone has been talking such rubbish to her, causing Sale to deny it and claim she was only assuming. This calms Killian down, and he agrees to her proposal of teaching the kids to read and says Kramer will assist her with it. Sale is about to leave when Killian notices that she is confident the curse will be lifted, prompting her to flinch. This curse thingy wasn't actually mentioned in the novel, but our girl is sure that the novel has a happy ending, so everything should work out in the end. However, she can't just say that outright, so she tells him that she doesn't know anything. This makes Killian wary of her, since how could she not know with such powers? She also made a gill rod kiss the top of her feet. It feels really unfair for our girl to be seen as suspicious because, come on, she didn't ask for this. She tightens her fist and shares that she only just found out about the gill rods and the curse. Plus, if she hadn't met the children, she would have never known about their existence or discovered her strange powers. She then bluntly informs Killian that it's him who doesn't want to share anything, which makes him furrow his brows. She would like to have some information? He gives her one, and that includes the 2 reasons why a gill rod kisses someone's feet. First, it's when they wish to be blessed by someone the goddess has chosen, and second, if they want to express their condolences to a living offering, they will give to the goddess. After that conversation, she slams the door shut as she leaves the room and walks away, prompting Kramer to rush inside to ask Killian why he is so agitated with the Duchess. He actually overhears the exchange and believes the Duke did not need to tell her about the Gilrods offering humanity because everyone knows it's a fake rumor. He also tells Killian that Cielina had a better life before coming here and confronts him with the truth. He does not know how to treat his wife properly. Tell him, Kramer, tell him! We need a Kramer in every Northern Duke with no communication skills. Killian responds that he was never interested in this marriage and merely wants to lift the curse. But sir, if you use your head like Kramer here, this is even more reason to get along with Sale. Meanwhile, Gabrielle chooses to have a chat with Sale, who's wrapped up in her blanket, reassuring her that the Duke didn't really mean what he said earlier. She also reassures her that Rowena kissing her feet doesn't mean she sees her as an offering, and she is expressing this as Gabrielle, not as a knight wanting to defend her master. Even though Gabrielle hasn't caught every word of what Sale talked about with the Duke, she feels that the Duke really made a mistake this time. Sale feels a wave of relief knowing she isn't some kind of offering, so she expresses her thanks to Gabrielle for chatting with her. This, for the first time, brings a smile to the unusually serious Lady Knight, and just like that, the two grow closer. The following day, Kramer stops by her room and shares that he has discovered a great tutor for the twins, named Pavel Yotrika, a young Grand Sage. He's incredibly talented, having become a senior researcher at the Mage Tower when he was just 9 years old. It's also noteworthy that he even had the opportunity to tutor a crown prince. Due to his achievements, he became a count and was given the territory of Haxon Castle. Unfortunately, this good news is all in the past because 10 years ago, he was exiled for embezzling funds from the Mage's Tower. A genius but a criminal is a no-no for our girl, but Kramer persuades her that as long as they don't require Pavel to teach the kids morals, just history, mathematics, and other subjects, everything would be fine. Also, the monastery to which he was exiled is close to the duchy, and his sentence will expire soon. But most importantly, he is blind. Pavel will not be a threat even if the children turn into monsters, so she gladly wants to hire him. Second lead, perhaps? Today, Sale shares with the children that she'll be away for 10 days to bring in a tutor who will teach them how to read and some other fun activities. Hearing this makes the kids very happy, and they make a promise to be good while waiting for her to come back. She is on her way when she notices Killian and Kramer talking so seriously, and she discovers that the elders intend to visit the estate with the excuse of wanting to see the snow. When she hears that Madame Pontin, Count Adler's wife, is eager about visiting, she understands because this is the only one who knows the twins are still alive. But she is concerned that things will get difficult if she is not present when the elders arrive. Killian encourages her not to worry, and with a bold expression advises her to take the time to look around, which annoys Sale and prompts Kramer to step in, explaining that the Duke merely means that she can enjoy her trip without stress. She lets out a sigh at how difficult Killian is being, so she decides to hop on the carriage and waves goodbye to Anna and Kramer. However, she's taken by surprise when Killian suddenly appears at her window. He gently takes her hand to kiss it, letting her know that it's a Seyfried sign of respect for their wife. He gives it another peck and stares at her, saying that it is an apology, which leaves our girl feeling flustered. When they arrive at the monastery, they quickly notice someone holding a stick and a guide dog, which likely means the man is blind. Sale gathers the courage to call out his name, Pavel, prompting the man to turn around, and oh my word, he is extremely handsome with that long purple hair! Cielina thinks about how handsome Pavel is, while Lily blushes and openly expresses her thoughts on his captivating looks, prompting Cielina to pinch her on the side. Lily is totally me. Anyway, Cielina introduces herself, and as we all know, people enjoy gossiping, so they choose to have a private discussion inside her carriage. She directly asks him if he would like to be a children's tutor, offering food, accommodation, and a guaranteed salary. To her surprise, Pavel immediately agrees, but he has one condition. They must give him permission to pass through the duchy's North Castle gate and provide him with a horse and bodyguards whenever he wants to go there. Sale feels a bit puzzled since all she sees beyond the North Gate are snowfields. Pavel then tries to clarify, mentioning that there is a key he hopes to find in that area. Back to our twins, they are becoming bored without Cielina, prompting Erhi to come up with a dangerous plan to see her by flying extremely high, allowing everyone to mistake them for birds. Fortunately, Irene is a good girl and stops Erhi, explaining that it has only been 3 nights without Sail and that they must behave. Erhi accepts and decides to merely fly around the area, and because he remembers Sail complimenting him on his wings growing larger, he decides to practice flying higher to surprise her when she returns. He zooms around when he sees a carriage with a wolf flag, wondering if Sail might be inside. Curious, he decides to take a closer look when he overhears a conversation about Killian coming from the carriage. He tries to listen in and hears that they plan to get rid of the monsters before Cielina comes back, but oh no, they see him outside! Erhi feels a rush of panic and chooses to find protection at the estate. But unfortunately, it's too late as an arrow strikes his wing, causing him to tumble down. Kids are naturally curious, so I'll blame our always praying Nanny Rowena for this. Gosh, she should be watching them. Thankfully, Killian notices him hurt in the skies and rushes to the forest, but he can't determine if it's Erhi or Irene. When he sees the shrieking dragon, his immediate response is to grab his sword, which causes him to recoil because he does not want to raise his blade at the children again. He decides to hold the dragon and sees that despite its roaring, it never attempts to bite him or use its claws. When he gets a good look at the dragon, he realizes it's Erhi, so he calls out his name, causing the little boy to calm down and shrink into his arms. This is when he recognizes Erhi was shot by an arrow, so when the knights arrive, he instructs them to send a letter to Cielina, requesting her return as soon as possible. Right after that, Killian hears the carriage is coming, which means the elders are here, so he has no choice but to welcome them first. Countess Ponton has a warm, motherly presence, while her husband, Count Adler, appears quite ordinary. But Marquess Raymond appears to be bad news. So it turns out we now know who to beat up because the Marquise just told Killian that his crossbow squad took out a monster, and you can bet Killian is fuming about it. As they step into the mansion, Kramer leans in to tell Killian that Sir Winter, who's looking after the kids at the annex, has set up a barrier with the Black Wolf since Erhi woke up feeling restless. Erhi's wound is serious and needs treatment, but they can't approach him since he hasn't transformed back into his human form yet. For now, all they can do is wait patiently for Cielina to come back. When the messenger bird finally gets to Sail, she totally freaks out to learn that Erhi's been hurt. They are now at the forest near the annex after Cielina decides to use a horse for a quicker trip. But Gabriella and Haken are feeling a bit concerned for her since the poison from the monster energy is lingering in the air. It seems that this doesn't bother Sail at all, likely thanks to Havina's divine power, which truly impresses the 2 knights. When they arrive, she sees not only Erhi, but also Irene in their dragon form, both filled with rage behind the barrier. The knights seem so relieved when she arrives, as they all think she can calm the twins. This makes her really nervous since she isn't working with the goddess anymore, meaning she doesn't have any divine power that could help the children. She chooses to set aside her pride because the children's safety means everything to her, so she kindly asks the knights to stand back before she calls Havina. The goddess takes on the form of a sea anemone, and Sail asks her to make a pact, believing it to be advantageous since gods are unable to break such agreements. Sail smiles and happily agrees to let Havina borrow her body until someone without magical powers, who will love Killian even more than she does, comes along. She will pass that role to the person, and in return, Havina must keep granting her holy powers and her freedom. Oh, she's talking about her brother! I completely forgot that she's in a BL novel! After their contract, Sail feels ready to approach the twins, and as soon as the barrier opens, the 2 dragons rush to her while she happily opens her arms to them. In Killian's office, the elders are chatting about the twins wandering around in their human forms, and recalling how the former Duke destroyed the seeds of disaster 7 years ago. I'm not sure what that seed is, but it seems really important. The Marquise then smirks, suggesting that there's an easy fix to their problem: to eliminate what he refers to as monsters, since they are the only ones aware of their existence. This is really getting on Killian's nerves, and he's even starting to think about taking out the Marquise himself. Hold on a second, is it just me, or are his eyes turning red? Fortunately, when things seem to be taking a turn for the worse, Kramer arrives and shares the wonderful news that the Duchess has returned. Killian welcomes the Duchess, and right behind her, the knights gently carry the sleeping twins. Sail kindly asks them to take the kids to her room and have the doctor check on them, and they quickly comply. The elders arrive, and the Countess appears intrigued by the former Duchess, Claudia's children, while the Marquise offers compliments to the rumored most beautiful woman in the Empire, none other than our own goddess, Cielina. He introduces himself, but since Sail knows he was the one who hurt her little Erhi, she simply walks past him and chats with the Countess about the children. absolutely love it. When Countess Ponton hears about Selves' closeness to the children, her expression brightens and she can't wait to meet them later. Once all the formal greetings were done, Sale headed to her room, feeling puzzled about why the doctor hadn't shown up yet. Hana then explains that they no longer needed one since Erhi's wound is almost completely healed. Sale gets so confused, but Killian, who appears to have followed her into the room, explains that it might be because the children are born with human magical powers. He mentions that Claudia, his sister-in-law, had strong magical powers, which might explain why she believes she could manage the children, even though they were born with monster energy. But sadly, we all know what happened to her in the end. Sale believes that the kid's condition is improving based on how they can use their magical powers, but Killian does not want to get his hopes up, so she assures him that they will be okay soon. This makes Killian smile because he assumes Sale meant she would never leave the twins' side, but he is shocked when she corrects him and says the babies will be fine without her. Yes, she believes Sion will take over her position since he's the one who will be by Killian's side for the rest of his life, just like in the story. Sale feels a little twinge thinking about this, so she decides to change the topic and asks Killian if she can create a room for the children in the main mansion, to which he agrees. He is just about to leave when she asks him to stay and wait until the children wake up. However, he thinks the children might not be too happy to see him, considering what happened before. At that time, he believed that using his magical power to eliminate them after they were born, thinking they wouldn't remember it, would be effective, but he failed. He attempted to get closer to the children afterward, but they seemed to instinctively fear him, maybe because they remembered the magical power that had nearly killed them. Sale finds out from Hana that the elders are determined to stay longer and are hoping for a welcome party, which really frustrates her. This isn't really like Killian, since he usually kicks out unwanted visitors. However, she gets that he has to be courteous to them since the duchy's farmland has turned into snowy fields and monsters are everywhere. He probably has no choice but to ask for help from the elders in the south for resources. Sale is rushing to her room after hearing that the children have woken up, feeling worried since they haven't eaten any magic stones yet. She quickly bursts open the door and is taken aback to see the children smiling, their faces and clothes covered in blood. Before our girl gets too overwhelmed, Hana reassures her that the kids just enjoyed some strawberries, which brings her great relief. She feels confident that they don't need to eat magic stones anymore. It's the divine power within her guiding her, and she knows she should trust it. Seeing Hana and Gabrielle looking at them makes Irene curious if people aren't scared of them anymore, which Sale happily confirms. She then adds more good news by saying that they will live in the main mansion from now on. Of course, if they prefer to stay at the annex, that's perfectly okay. She can visit them every day, but what she gets in return is a lovely warm hug from the twins who express their wish to live with her. When Sale leaves the room to speak with Hana, Erhi tells Irene what happened to him earlier and admits that he was the one who harmed Killian. But when Killian called his name, he calmed down. Erhi glances out the window and is terrified to see the exact person who ordered the knights to shoot him, prompting Irene to urge they teach the man a lesson. Children's pranks are lethal! That evening, the Marquess is persuading the Count to take a look at the annex, as he believes the children they saw might not be real and that the real deal is still hiding there. He plans to tame them and use them as secret weapons, as he truly believes that a curse placed on them for hundreds of years can't be lifted by just one person. It looks like the Count is still a good person since he hesitates to agree with the Marquess, especially considering that both children resemble the previous Duke and Duchess greatly. In the end, the Marquess takes a solo stroll through the forest, prompting Kramer to send a messenger bird to the Duke, who appears to be already in the forest, expecting the Marquess's actions. Sir Winter seems let down that an elder of the Seyfried family has such little trust in the ducal house, and now they believe that the Marquess aims to use the children for his own benefit. Killian spots the twins peeking from behind a tree, so before he goes over to them, he asks Winter to have the knight stand by while he follows behind. Killian begins to overthink, worrying that the kids might want to return to the annex because they feel uneasy living close to him in the main mansion. However, before he can voice his concerns, Erhi chimes in, mentioning that the elder had said some unkind things about Cielina earlier. The little ones look so adorable with their teary eyes as they look up at Killian, giving their uncle the perfect opportunity to get closer by suggesting they team up to teach that bad man a lesson. Yup, the new way of bonding is to get revenge together. The knights are tucked away behind the bush, and their plan is to sneakily have the Marquess fall into a pit so he can't get into the annex. To their surprise, the Duke appears with Irene on his back and Erhi by his side. The twins proudly display their wings, causing the Marquess to tremble on the ground. He then kneels before the Duke, seeking his forgiveness for doubting the authenticity of the children. Irene smiles at the Marquess, feeling prepared to confront him as a way to get back for hurting Erhi. This prompts the Marquess to ask for Killian's help, who responds with an air of dismay that a Seyfried like him struggles with a little girl. The Marquess feels quite frightened because, well, a child with wings is definitely beyond his experience. When Irene playfully surprises him with a little boo, he lets out a scream and tumbles right into the smelly pit. They come back home, and they look so adorable with their messy faces and dirty clothes, leaving Sale feeling confused about what happened. The three just smile brightly, saying nothing happened. She realizes they're covering something up, but she chooses not to spoil the mood by discouraging them. Instead, she simply asks the kids to wash up. I'm really happy Killian reached out to the kids! The next morning, Killian cheerfully tells Sale that the Marquess left during the night. Before our girl can ask more questions, he decides to distract her by expressing his gratitude for the magic stone mine he received from her family. He adds that without it, he would have to source them from the Marquess's mine. He needs magic stones, so that's why he married her, right? Sale has also found out that Countess Ponton was the one who introduced Claudia, whom she regarded as a daughter to the Seyfried family. However, Sale has also heard that this is the Countess's first visit to the manor since her argument with Claudia, and Sale thinks that perhaps the Countess tried to convince Claudia not to have children because of the curse. For sure, the Countess has a special fondness for Claudia, even more than for Claudia's children. Sale, however, wishes that the Countess would come to see the twins as her own grandchildren. It would be wonderful to have more people looking out for them, especially since she knows she won't be around forever. Sale decides to enjoy some tea with the Countess, sharing her feelings about not being as brave as the former Duchess. This leads her to reveal that she doesn't plan on having Killian's child due to the curse, but she promises the Countess that she will raise the twins as if they were her own. The Countess begins to feel emotional because, deep down, she realizes that if she had been aware of the curse earlier, she wouldn't have allowed Claudia into their family, and now she carries the weight of feeling responsible for Claudia's death. Sale then discovers that Claudia was feeling so sure before because goddess Havina visited her and promised to save the children if Claudia agreed to give her body to her. This makes little sense because, from what Sale knows, Havina is limited to possessing a body without magical powers, which excludes Claudia because she has powers. This leads Sale to suspect that Havina lied to Claudia in order to take over her body but didn't succeed. As a result, she asks the Countess to look after the twins if anything were to happen to her. Is the goddess really evil? Oh no, I think signing a contract allowing the goddess to use her body is a bad idea. Today, Sale is taking the twins for a checkup because even though her divine power can purify their monster energy, she still has some concerns about any potential side effects on their bodies. Yeaman Arnold has been the family doctor for a long time and has just retired following the passing of the Duke and Duchess, which suggests he holds some important knowledge. After the checkup, Yeaman shares with Sale that Erhi's growth is a bit unusual for a 7-year-old. He then starts trembling as he shares a secret, that he actually saw Claudia's corpse. At that time, he was just informed that the Duchess had been attacked by monsters. However, as her personal doctor, he found it a bit suspicious that they didn't want to show her body to him, so he decided to secretly open the coffin. He didn't see any wounds, but what he discovered was even more frightening because Claudia's body seemed to age as if time had moved faster. This gives Sale the chills, but the only clues she has now are Claudia aging into an old woman and Erhi's unexpected growth. Initially, she thinks Erhi might be the one causing the time issues, but then she realizes he's just cursed. This makes her wonder if maybe Havina is the one behind it all. I'm really bummed that our lovely goddess seems really sus. Meanwhile, Killian grows increasingly curious about what Sale likes and dislikes, and he wonders how she would react if he asked her now. However, when he gets close to her room, which is half open, he overhears her saying that she will meet Pavel tomorrow night. Oopsie, someone's going to be super jelly. Pavel has been staying at the Seyfried estate, and the servants say he enjoys taking evening walks with his dog, Anastasia, making it easy for Sale to spot him in the garden. She makes her present known, prompting Pavel to ask if she has received permission from the Duke to grant him a pass to the North Gate. He takes a step closer to her, but Sale spots a thorny branch and quickly reaches out to grab him, ensuring he doesn't trip over it. Her touch makes this guy blush deeply, and he starts to panic as he searches for his cane. She then decides to help him and hands it to him, but Pavel gets a bit too close to her, causing her to freeze when she suddenly hears her husband's voice, who's already frowning. He takes the cane from her and hands it to Pavel, who then kneels and begs for permission to go out to the northern gate. The snowy fields are filled with monsters, and opening it could endanger the lives of his knights and people. So Killian straightforwardly informs him that he has no plans to grant a pass to someone who has betrayed the Empire. Both Killian and Sale are really surprised when Pavel mentions that someone in the snowy fields has turned into a monster because of him, and he wishes to help return them to normal. Pavel seems to have been wrongly accused, but he doesn't have the evidence to show who the real culprit is. For now, he's asking them to believe him, but nope, Killian still isn't ready to trust him. Pavel shares that he thinks he might find a clue in the snowy field, but Killian scoffs, feeling that Pavel doesn't sound very confident about it. Mr. Jealous Husband, be nice to my baby. Who knows? He might find an answer to the curse. So guys, what do you think of this story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories, so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!